I'm Flay and I'm a breast cancer survivor. My mother had breast cancer. She had a mastectomy. The scars from that mastectomy frightened me when I first saw them until today. I had vowed that if I ever got breast cancer, I would definitely have bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction to immediately follow. I did not want to wake up as my mother woke up in her hospital bed with a breast missing. I did everything to try to prevent not to get breast cancer. I exercised, I ate right, I did my monthly checkups, I did my yearly mammograms. Well, needless to say, in June 2007, I was so shocked when I found out that something was wrong with my left breast. I was coming up on my yearly mammogram, so I went ahead and made my appointment to have my mammogram. I did the mammogram. I guess it must have been about 2 or 3 days after the mammogram, my gynecologist called me and informed me that there was a mass or something in my breast that they had to do further testing on. She sent me back for more tests. I had an ultrasound. Then from the ultrasound, they sent me back. I was to have a biopsy of my breast. Needless to say, I was scared. Deep down in my heart, I knew something was wrong, but with the hopes that it was not wrong. At that point, after biopsy, I was shocked. After the biopsy, my left breast was black and blue, and I was thinking to myself, is this how it's going to be? It was at that point that I realized that I had to take actions into my own hands. I had to further educate myself, read as much as I could read, look online. I was up at midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. You don't sleep when you have a problem, a medical problem especially. So after my biopsy, I was scheduled to go back to meet with the radiologist. This entire time it drove me crazy because it took an entire month for them to diagnose this. I guess they wanted to be sure, which I can understand because, like I said, my mother had been through it, and no one wants to go through it, but you do at times. Well, my husband did not want me to go along because I had been to all my previous appointments alone, and unbeknownst to me, he called his sister, who's an RN, and told her about the situation. I was trying to keep it secret because I didn't want anyone to worry as I had been worrying. She and I went to the radiologist, and sitting there drove me crazy because my appointment was that afternoon. So the whole morning I'm at work trying to keep myself busy. I get into the radiologist's office, put it on a gown, and when he walked in, I could see in his eyes something was wrong. He just looked at me, he examined my breast from the biopsy, and then took his hands into mine and said, "I'm sorry. I'm very sorry." He said, "The test did not come back right. You have cancer. You have the mass." It was at that point that I looked at him, the tears welting in my eyes, trying to hold them back. I did. I had to be strong. I had to be strong. Not just for myself, but for others. I just felt that. It was at that point, as I got dressed, I said to myself, this is not going to beat me. I am going to beat it. It is not going to pull me down. I'm just not that type of person. Little did I know that as I walked out of that appointment, the radiologist had made an appointment for me to see a breast surgeon that I knew, someone that I trusted, someone that I felt comfortable with. When I walked into his office, he and his nurse were there, and we talked, and to try to figure out what would be the next step I would take. It was at that point that I advised him that I knew what I wanted. I had already decided, years ago when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, I had decided that I was not going to just have a mastectomy, but that I was going to have a bilateral mastectomy with reconstruction because I wanted my life to be as normal after this cancer as it was before. So it was at that point that I advised the doctor. Well, he was taken aback. He and his nurse just said, Flay, this is not a decision you need to make right now. You have just found this out. Wait, think about it. Talk to your husband about it. Well, I had already told my husband, and I think he knew that my decision was already going to be made at that point. Well, the next thing I knew, I was going to my oncologist, another doctor. I thought, oh my God, how many doctors can you see within a week? But I went to the oncologist, and we had already scoped out what procedures I was going to take as far as chemotherapy. I had to get 8 rounds of chemotherapy, and I had told him, as I told the other surgeon, that I had already decided I was going to have a bilateral mastectomy. I was just amazed at doctors, the way they look at you when they find out you have breast cancer and you've already decided. But you see, I was on a mission. I was on a mission to get this dreaded disease rid of my body. I wanted it out. I wanted it out as fast as I could. I just wanted to go on with my life. I was coming up the next year, my 50th birthday, and I just wanted it done before then. I had heard about Dr. Sullivan. My sister-in-law's sister had gone to him, and she was very happy with him. I called her on the phone. She's living in Texas since Katrina. I spoke with her at length. She said, wonderful. I just listened to her. She said he's a very personable person, and when I met Dr. Sullivan, I could see it. My husband and I, of course, were very nervous when we got into his office. I could see he had a kind face. He understood. I'm sure he has thousands and thousands of patients with the same story I had to tell. Breast cancer. Want to look as normal as you can. So when we met with him, I will never forget it. It was just like it was yesterday. In less than a week after I found out I had cancer, I had gone in to see him, and he explained to me what procedures he would be able to take to make my life as normal, or make my body look as normal as he could after breast cancer. So we went in, and I started to cry, and he looked at me in my eyes, and he said, it's okay. And it was at that point, his okay was just not, it's okay to cry, but it's okay, because you will be okay. You will be okay. And I felt as if something had come over me. I was happy but sad. Sad that I knew I had cancer, but happy that I knew he was going to help me, and then I was going to live through this. Okay, so on the morning of my surgery, my husband and I arrived at the hospital, and I was not nervous at all. Actually, I was excited. I was excited because I knew I would be entering a hospital with breasts, and I knew I would be coming out with breasts, and that one thing I would leave in the hospital, and that would be the cancer. Cancer may have taken away something from me, but it definitely did not take away who I am. So we had decided that Dr. Sullivan would do my surgery, and I had a bilateral mastectomy done with reconstruction at the same time. And then I went back 6 months later after I had completed all my chemotherapy. I went back to Dr. Sullivan, and he did what I call tweaking, which is to make the perfect body even more perfect. He added my nipples on, and now I have new nipples. And then from the nipples, I now have some tattooing of the nipples and areolas. So my breasts right now are as normal as anyone out there. After all, my stitches have fallen out, and I have a huge mirror in my bathroom. It's huge. It's probably like maybe 5 or 6 feet long and high. And I got to see, I stood in front of my mirror for the longest after my surgery. I was so proud of my new boobs. They're perfect. My bras fit wonderful, and I love them. I do.